The year is 1939. We are in the quiet city of Newport, Maine. This is where a young boy named Don lives with his family. His father, Mr. Donald, is a dedicated Army officer. Because of his service, he spends most of his time far away from home. Don's world revolves around his mother, Ruth, his sister, and his twin brother, Ryan. Whenever their father returns home on leave, the house transforms. Today is one of those days. As Donald's car pulls into the driveway, Don and Ryan sprint behind it, their faces beaming with pure joy. Their father is finally back. Even better, Donald promised them a special fishing trip during this holiday. The boys are already busy preparing their gear, their hearts racing with excitement for the adventure ahead. Don and Ryan are twins, and like most brothers, they share a bond filled with both love and rivalry. They constantly bicker over the smallest things. While standing right in front of their father, they start a heated argument. To teach them a lesson, Donald gives them a chore: go clean the car. But the peace doesn't last. While scrubbing the car, another argument breaks out. This time it gets physical. They start hitting each other. Seeing this, Donald walks up to them. Instead of stopping the fight, he challenges them. "Fight me," he says, testing their spirit. Ryan looks away, whispering, "I don't want to fight." Donald looks at them seriously and says, "Sometimes we're left with no choice but to fight." Just then their mother, Ruth, calls everyone for dinner. But the happy reunion is about to take a dark turn. As they eat, Donald drops a bombshell. He has to return to duty in just 2 days. He needs to reach the city of Rio immediately. Don's heart sinks. "What about our fishing trip?" he asks, his voice trembling. Donald sighs. The fishing trip is canceled. Instead, he offers a compromise: a hiking trip to Mount Katahdin. They will leave tomorrow and return the following night. It's a short drive, and a guide named Henry will join them. Don is furious. The disappointment is too much to handle. "If you were going to leave so soon, why did you even bother coming back?" he snaps. Donald loses his patience. "Fine," he replies, "then you don't have to come with us." Angry and hurt, Don leaves his food and storms off to his room. Later that night, Ruth enters Don's room to comfort him. Don tells her how much he hates his father's job. Ruth sits beside him and shares a secret. "The day you and Ryan were born," she says softly, "your father cried. He told me we were the luckiest people in the world. He might not show it, Don, but he loves you more than anything." Hearing this, Don's heart softens. He changes his mind and decides to go on the hike. In the other room, Ruth talks to Donald. She can tell he isn't excited about the hike. "Why are you going if you don't want to?" she asks. Donald looks tired. "I don't know, I just wanted to see them happy." Ruth warns him, "They wait for you with so much hope. If you keep pushing them away, one day you will be too far for them to reach." Donald picks up a newspaper. His eyes are filled with dread. "A great storm is coming," he mutters. "The whole world is going to turn into hell. No one will escape, not even me." He is talking about the beginning of World War II. Don, listening from the shadows of his room, hears every word. The next morning, Don finds his father sitting alone in the room, looking deeply troubled. Soon the family sets off for the mountain. As they drive, the radio is filled with grim news. Don looks at his father and asks, "Were you ever scared?" Donald nods. "Yes, often. Especially when things get complicated. My father had a job just like mine, and I hated him for the same reasons you hate me." Donald wants to tell his son how much he loves him, but the words get stuck in his throat as the massive mountains appear on the horizon. Don gazes at the peaks, lost in thought. Soon they meet Henry, who is waiting for them on the road. They reach the campsite and set up their tents. As they sit around, Donald asks the boys, "Are you ready to climb to the very top?" Don shrugs confidently. "It's just a mountain." Henry chuckles darkly. "Don't take Katahdin so lightly, kid. This mountain changes its face every second. One moment the sky is clear, and the next you'll hear the terrifying roar of thunder. The mountain will try to trick you at every step. One wrong move and you are lost forever." Henry then tells them the legend of Pamola, the god of the mountain. Many believe he has lived on the summit since the beginning of time. Henry describes him as a terrifying creature. He has the head of a deer, the body of a man, and the wings and feet of a giant eagle. He protects the mountain with storms and hail. Even though Don is a brave boy, this story sends a shiver down his spine. That night, Ryan asks Don, "Do you believe Henry?" Don scoffs, "They're just trying to scare us." At dawn, the group begins the climb. Henry tells them it's a 5-hour trek. "The higher we go, the harder it gets," he warns. "The most important thing is to stay together. Follow these white marks on the trees, they show the way." As they hike, Don keeps spitting on the ground, a bad habit that Donald absolutely hates. Donald repeatedly tells him to stop, but the tension between them is thick. Suddenly, the wind turns ice cold. Donald senses the weather shifting. "We aren't dressed for this," he says firmly. "We should go back." Don refuses to listen. "We aren't going back. You want us to grow up, right? Then let us act like adults. You can go back if you want. We don't need you." Stung by his son's words, Donald looks at them and says, "Fine, I'm going back to the camp, but whatever happens, you two stay with Henry." Don and Ryan continue the climb with Henry. Within 2 hours, the weather turns violent. It starts to rain. Ryan gets scared and wants to turn back. Seeing his brother shivering, Don takes off his own sweater and gives it to Ryan. The rain gets heavier. A thick, suffocating fog rolls in, swallowing the path. They can barely see a few feet ahead. "I can't stay here anymore," Ryan cries. "Dad is waiting for us." Don snaps, "Let him wait. We've spent our whole lives waiting for him." Ryan loses his temper and shoves Don. "No, we are going back now." They start fighting again right there on the slippery mountain slope. Henry tries to pull them apart, shouting that this is no time to fight. Ryan screams at Dawn, "Dad was right about you. You really are a pathetic creature." Those words break something inside Dawn. Just then, a massive bolt of lightning strikes nearby. Terrified, Dawn panics. He turns and starts running blindly into the thick fog. Ryan screams for him to stop, shouting, "I'm sorry," but Dawn doesn't look back. He disappears into the white mist. Dawn runs and runs until his lungs burn. He stops and looks around. The white marks on the trees are gone. He is completely off the path. The silence of the mountain is deafening. Realizing he is lost, the brave boy finally breaks. He falls to his knees, crying and screaming for his father. Dad, help me." Back at the campsite, Ryan runs into the clearing and collapses into his father's arms, trembling with fear. Donald looks at him, panicked. "What happened? Where is Don?" Henry walks up, his face pale. "We got separated," he says quietly. "He's gone. I lost him in the fog." Without any path to follow, Don is running blindly into the deep, dark wilderness. Every step he takes brings a new danger. Back at the camp, Donald is desperate. He tells Henry to alert the forest rangers immediately and bring a rescue team. As night falls, Don is exhausted. Every snap of a twig or sound of a wild animal sends him into a panic. He sits down and pulls off his socks, only to find his feet covered in blood and deep gashes. Alone and terrified, he begins to pray. He makes a series of desperate promises to God. "I'll be the best boy in the world," he sobs. "I'll be polite like Ryan. I won't put my elbows on the table. I won't spit anymore, and I'll listen to everything my parents say. I just want to see my mom one more time." He even promises not to be angry at his father for working away from home. Exhausted by his own tears, he falls asleep on the cold forest floor. A team of 5 rangers joins Donald to begin the search. They scour the woods all night, but there is no sign of the boy. When morning breaks, Donald has to make the hardest phone call of his life. He calls Ruth and tells her the devastating news: Don is lost. Don wakes up to a clear sky. He finds a large bird feather and stares at it. It reminds him of Henry's story about Pamola, the mountain god. But instead of fear, he feels a strange spark of hope and starts moving again. Back at the search base, the atmosphere is tense. Ruth and Ryan arrive at the scene. An officer explains that they have 2 groups searching the tree line. Ruth asks if they can use a plane, but the officer shakes his head. The winds are blowing at 40 miles per hour and the clouds are too thick. It's too dangerous to fly. Ruth's voice trembles. "Do you think my son is dead?" The officer tries to be professional, but Donald snaps. "Then why are you only searching the tree line? You're looking for a body, aren't you? Tell me the truth," the officer sighs. "We have to consider that he might not have survived. It is nearly impossible for a 12-year-old to survive up there alone." Donald remembers the 3 rules he always taught his sons about survival. First, never lose your cool, but Donald knows Don's temper. He fears his son will panic. Second, follow the flow of water. Every stream leads to a river and every river leads to a town. Third, when things get tough, harden your heart. Ruth takes Ryan back home. She lies on Don's empty bed, feeling the crushing weight of his absence. Meanwhile, in the forest, Don is starving. He begins eating leaves and wild berries just to stay alive. He tries to distract himself from the pain by singing and dancing near a waterfall, even swimming in the cold water. But when he stops to rest, he realizes his body is covered in leeches. He has to painfully pull them off one by one. At home, Ryan is clutching the sweater Don gave him. He sees a dead bird in the yard and fears it's an omen. He runs to Ruth asking, "Is Don alive?" Ruth looks him in the eye. "Your brother is stubborn, Ryan. He's more stubborn than your father. He'll make it back just to prove us wrong." Donald calls Ruth, saying they need more volunteers and a plane. Ruth gets to work. She grabs the phone book and calls every news station and newspaper she can find. Soon, Don's story is on every front page. A massive wave of volunteers arrives along with reporters. The whole country is now watching the search for the boy in the Maine woods. Days pass. Don is a walking skeleton. He eats anything he can find: bugs, plants, scraps. He doesn't stop. He walks for miles and miles, fueled by pure survival instinct. Donald eventually returns home for a brief moment, broken. He feels responsible for the tragedy. Seeing him so defeated, Ruth sits beside him and intentionally spits on the floor, mimicking Don's bad habit. It's a small, strange way to bring Don's spirit into the room and give Donald the strength to keep fighting. Don finds an abandoned cabin in the woods. He runs to it, hoping for food or a phone, but it's empty. All he finds is a single fork. He takes the fork to a stream, trying to spear a fish. He fails over and over, but he refuses to give up. Finally, he uses his own t-shirt as a net and catches a fish. Since he has no fire, he has to eat the fish raw. As he chokes it down, he thinks of his family and the happy meals they shared. He looks at the setting sun and begs, "Please don't leave me, I'm scared of the dark." The search party finds a foul smell near a cave. They fear it's Don's body. The cave entrance is too small for the men, so Ryan volunteers to go in. Inside, he finds a dead bobcat. He crawls out relieved and tells everyone it wasn't Don. Ryan then confesses to his father that the whole thing started because they were fighting. "It's my fault," Ryan sobs. Donald hugs him. "No, it's my fault. I should have been there." Don sees a plane flying high above and screams for help, but the forest canopy is too thick. No one hears him. That night in a fever dream, he imagines Pamola holding him. He remembers how his dad used to carry him to bed when he was little. "That was my favorite part," he whispers to the darkness. Donald, sensing his son's spirit, goes back into the woods in the middle of the night like a madman. He runs through the brush screaming Don's name until he trips. A sharp root stabs him in the eye. At the hospital, the doctor says Donald might lose his sight in that eye. Ruth sits by Donald's bed. "When you told me you lost him," she says, "I prayed it was Don who was lost, because I know him, I know he can survive anything." Donald cries. "I was so hard on him, I wanted to be a teacher instead of a father, I just want one more chance to fix it." By the 9th day, Don is at his limit, he can barely stand. He hallucinates his father standing in front of him, saying, "Keep going, Don." He finds a river and follows it. On the other side, he sees a woman. With the last bit of strength in his lungs, he screams. She sees him and calls for help. The news spreads like wildfire. Forest rangers realize Don has walked 80 miles, a feat nearly impossible for an adult, let alone a starving child. The reunion is emotional. Ruth sees her son and collapses into a hug. Don embraces his siblings, and finally he stands before his father. "I always do the wrong thing, don't I, Dad?" Don asks weakly. Donald pulls him into a tight embrace. "No, I love you, Don. I love you too, Dad." Years later, Ruth reflects on the miracle. "It was a lesson in faith," she says. Don himself admits that he wanted to give up many times, but a power inside him kept him moving. "You don't know how strong your heart is," Don says, "until your life is on the line. These 9 days taught me what family truly means. We don't realize the value of love until we are about to lose it." Don's story remains a testament to the incredible strength of the human spirit.